At a heartwarming brunch, my daughter's incredible revelation cut our ties, exposing 11 unexpected truths about the love we share. Jim leaned back in his chair, a proud smile on his face. The aroma of grilled pancakes filled the air, mixing with the sound of laughter that danced around their cozy dining room. It was his favorite Sunday tradition, a ritual of connection and warmth, the very heart of his family life in their suburban Chicago home. His daughter, Emily, with her wild curls and infectious energy, flitted around the table, pouring freshly squeezed orange juice into vibrant glasses. But as she finally sat down, Jim's heart quickened with an unshakable sense of ease wrapped tightly around the table's gathering of family until Emily's words shattered the tranquility like glass. "Dad, I've decided I want to pursue a career in social justice to uplift underprivileged communities." Stunned silence enveloped the table. Jim's chest tightened as if a band had wrapped around it. His mind raced. How could she choose a path so fraught with uncertainty? He envisioned her wearing a suit, climbing the corporate ladder, making solid choices, a life full of stability. His American dream for her was shifting like sand, and he felt like he was losing her the moment those words left her lips. The table buzzed with hushed murmurs, family members exchanging glances. Voices escalated, with Aunt Sue, always the peacemaker, trying to find a compromise. But there was Emily, her spirit igniting the room as she spoke passionately about change, urging her family to see the world through her eyes. "Why should success only mean financial stability?" she asked, fire in her voice. "What about purpose?" Jim's heart sank lower. He fought to find the right words, his own dreams for her slipping further away. "Emily, I just want what's best for you. Can't you see how dangerous this path is?" His words were heavy, resonating with his love but laced with fear. He felt the generational divide crack wide open. Just then, Uncle Frank interjected, sharing tales of their family's past, recounting stories of sacrifices made, dreams deferred. The heart of the brunch shifted from a gathering of love to a fraught battle of ideologies. How could Emily not see the struggles that had shaped Jim's life? And then, like a bolt from the blue, Emily asked a question that sent shockwaves through the gathering. "What if the struggles you faced, Dad, mirror exactly what I'm fighting against?" Tension pulsed in the air, hearts racing. The past hung there, unspoken yet potent, and within it, Jim felt the weight of a secret he had buried long ago. That he hesitated, his mind's gears grinding against a truth he had protected, a past where he too knew hardship. A tremor of anxiety cut across his features. Could his devotion to success and stability really coexist with the values he now heard echoing from his daughter's heart? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As Jim looked around the table, he saw faces reflecting confusion, empathy, and fear. He then felt the bond he shared with Emily hanging by the thinnest thread. What would it take to bridge this divide? Would their brunch ever return to laughter, or had this moment forever altered the fabric of their family? The air thickened with unresolved emotions, and as brunch plates grew cold, a truth loomed larger than both their dreams: love might not be enough to erase the past. The air in the dining room felt charged, heavy with unspoken words. Jim searched for something, anything, to break the tension but found only silence echoing back at him. Emily's statement hung like an unresolved chord, vibrating in his soul. He could feel his heart racing, the pulse of uncertainty overwhelming him. "Dad, it's not just a dream," she continued, her voice growing steadier. "It's a calling. I want to dedicate my life to making a difference." Her eyes sparkled with conviction, but Jim could only see the shadow of fear beneath her determination. He leaned forward, bracing himself against the table, feeling the weight of all their years together boiling down to this moment. "Emily, listen," he finally mustered, his voice almost pleading. "I know you want to help people. But you don't know what you're getting into. The world isn't what you think it is. It's not all noble ideals and fighting for justice. It's about survival, paying bills, and making sure you have a roof over your head. He didn't realize until he spoke how much of his own fear seeped into those words, fear not of failure but of loss. I've seen too many people fall, Emily. I don't want you to be one of them. His voice cracked, burdened by his own vulnerability. The table sat in uneasy silence again, the clinking of forks and knives now feeling like daggers piercing through their comfortable bubble of family chatter. Emily's face hardened slightly, the bright spark dimming as she interpreted his warning as disapproval. But your life is a testament to what you fought for. You've worked hard, but it's your past that's shaped you, Dad. Don't you see? What's the point of success if you don't define it on your own terms? At that, Jim felt something crack within him. Those words, a challenge to everything he had built, sent him spiraling down a path of contemplation. Had he really sacrificed so much just to replicate his own upbringing? Was it possible he was merely perpetuating a cycle? The room felt too small, the faces of his loved ones closing in on him, searching for answers. His niece, little Sarah, sat wide-eyed, her innocence untouched by the weight of what was being debated. Her soft voice broke through. Aunt Emily, why can't you do both? Help people and be successful? A warmth spread across the room at Sarah's unfiltered optimism. Emily's tense expression softened for just a moment as she turned to her niece, a flicker of gratitude shining through her frustration. Because, honey, sometimes the world doesn't let you. Jim's mind raced. Perhaps it was time to share the secret he had held for so long, the struggles he had hidden beneath layers of hard work and achievement. He could sense everyone leaning in, their breaths collectively held, waiting. I never told you all this, he started, feeling the lump rise in his throat. When I was your age, I chose a path that caused me pain and regret. He paused, catching Emily's gaze, searching for connection amid their chaos. I didn't always succeed. I lost friends to the ideals I chased. And those struggles? They don't just fade. They leave scars. Emily's expression shifted, the fire in her eyes replaced by a flicker of understanding. Behind her fierce resolve, he saw doubt and fear reflected back. For the first time, Jim wondered if the pursuit of stability had come at the cost of something even more valuable, a shared understanding of their dreams. As the brunch plates lay forgotten, glimmers of understanding started to form between them, but the distance still felt vast. Jim's heart pounded as he contemplated whether revealing his past would truly alter their divide. In that moment of fragile connection, he asked himself, was he ready to let Emily in on his truth, and in doing so, create an entirely new space for their relationship, one not just built on love but on understanding too? With the memories swirling in his mind and the weight of revelation looming heavy in the air, he took a deep breath and blurted out, Emily, what if I told you that I made mistakes too? That one truth hung over them like a tightrope. Susceptible to a single misstep that could change everything. Could it finally lead them both toward the healing they so desperately needed? As Jim's words trailed off, the room seemed to hold its breath. Emily's gaze flicked to her mom, then back to him, her expression a mix of concern and curiosity. For a moment, the world outside faded, the sunlight streaming through the window, birds chirping in the distance, even Sarah's soft giggle, all muted in the face of this unfolding moment. Dad, what do you mean? She asked, her voice low and steady, but the tremor beneath it was unmistakable. What mistakes? You've always said you did your best for us. Jim rubbed the back of his neck, feeling the weight of the past pressing down on him. He could already hear the echo of past choices and the repercussions they wrought. I thought I had it all figured out. You know, I was passionate just like you. I wanted to change the world, a different world. But it didn't go the way I planned. He hesitated, looking at Emily's eager yet anxious face. I chased dreams that weren't realistic. I fought battles that cost me friends, family, even my own sense of self. Emily leaned in closer, her brows drawing together. But you made it through, right? You did what you had to do, and you built a good life for us. I did, he said. But at what cost? I didn't lose only friendships. I lost pieces of myself along the way. Sometimes I wonder if all my hard work was truly for you or just a way to soothe my own regrets. The heaviness of the words flooded the air, and he could feel the tension shift in the room. There was an almost palpable pause as his confession weighed on them all. Emily's eyes widened, confusion mixing with a dawning realization, like light breaking through dense clouds. This wasn't just a history lesson, it was proof that she wasn't alone in her struggle. So you're saying I might be setting myself up for the same failures? I'm saying you need to know that struggles are part of life. And sometimes, those struggles can reshape who we are in ways we don't expect. Jim felt hope knot in his stomach. Maybe Emily wouldn't be dissuaded from her passion. Instead, this could be a turning point for them both. He caught Sarah's curious glance, her innocence still intact. Kids had this way of bringing clarity to chaos. Look, Emily, I support the idea of you wanting to care for others. Just promise me you'll keep your eyes open. Success can happen, but it comes with the scars of experience outside the classroom. Emily's brow furrowed in thought, her lips pursed. But I want to help people. There has to be a way to do both. At the sound of her assertion, Jim felt a glow of pride mixed with worry. It reminded him of his younger self, full of fire but sometimes blinded by ambition. And that's wonderful, Em. It really is. Just don't forget to take care of yourself along the way, okay? Fill yourself enough to fill others. Tears welled in Emily's eyes, the vulnerability surfacing amidst their conversation. But I didn't know you carried all this. Why didn't you tell me sooner? Because, Emily, I thought I was shielding you from my regrets, he admitted, his voice reverberating with sincerity. But maybe I was just scared of letting you see me break. Silence filled the dining room once again, thick with newfound understanding. It felt fragile yet electrifying, a connection forged through shared fear and the possibility of mutual healing. Finally, Emily let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding. What if we navigate this together, Dad? Not just my dream but ours? Jim smiled, a real smile that reached his eyes. Together. Just then, the doorbell rang, slicing through the moment like a sudden gust of wind. It was an invitation back to the world beyond their four walls, but in that fleeting moment, they had forged a bond, a bridge of honesty between them. Both felt a mix of anticipation and anxiety about what lay ahead as they stood together, facing the door. Jim's heart raced. Who could be behind it? Would this new arrival bring clarity or chaos to their breakthrough conversation? Jim shared a knowing glance with Emily, signaling the unspoken agreement that whatever lay beyond the door would be faced together. The doorbell rang again, more insistent this time, breaking the lingering heaviness in the air. Should I get it? Emily asked softly, brushing a loose strand of hair behind her ear. Sure, just take a deep breath first, Jim encouraged, feeling his heart thump in his chest. It was strange. That heavy talk about regrets had forged a connection he hadn't realized was missing. Now, everything felt on a razor's edge. Emily stood, her determination battling against uncertainty, and walked carefully toward the door. Jim remained seated, watching her small but confident silhouette, the sunlight casting a warm glow around her. It was incredible to see how far she'd grown, how her spirit radiated even in moments of hesitation. With a quick twist of the doorknob, she flung the door open. The unexpected sight of Aunt Linda, arms laden with bags of assorted baked goods, filled the opening. Surprise! She cheered, her bright smile lighting up the room. Oh! Emily exclaimed, the tension instantly breaking like a sunbeam scattering clouds. Aunt Linda, you scared me. Oops. Sorry, sweet pea. Aunt Linda stepped inside with infectious energy, her laughter rippling through the house. I thought you all could use a little pick-me-up. Everyone loves my famous cinnamon rolls. Jim couldn't help but chuckle. Aunt Linda had this way of entering a room and filling it with warmth and laughter, lightening even the heaviest moments. Perfect timing, as always, he said, trying to shake off his reflections from earlier. As Aunt Linda set down the baked goods on the dining table, Emily's face brightened. Can we have some now? Of course. But only if you promise to save me a piece for later, Aunt Linda teased, pulling out plates and napkins from one of the bags. Jim stood to help, his heart still fluttering from the intense moment he had shared with Emily. Now there was laughter, flower dust, and the seductive aroma of cinnamon filling the air. It was the kind of scene that could bring anyone back to life. "Hey, Aunt Linda," Emily said, as her aunt plating the rolls, "can you help me with something?" "Anything for my favorite niece." Aunt Linda responded, her eyes sparkling. Emily hesitated for a moment before diving in. "My dad shared some things with me, kind of personal stuff, and I want your advice on how to live my dreams without losing parts of myself, you know?" Jim felt a rush of warmth. He'd just opened up about his regrets, and now here was another lifeline for Emily, someone who could offer guidance from a different perspective. Aunt Linda's face grew serious. "Of course, darling. Balancing dreams and you is tough. But I can help you sift through it." The conversation turned audible, the comforting clattering of plates fading into the background, while Jim took a seat, quietly sipping coffee, tethering himself to the moment. Just before he let himself relax completely, a ripple of unease crawled back up his spine. Those words of his echoed, alluring yet haunting. Could dappled memories of his past creep into Emily's future? Amidst sounds of laughter and the scent of baked goods drifting around him, he couldn't shake the nagging feeling that clarity often comes with hidden costs. Was sharing his truth be the key to Emily finding her own path, or would it bind her to fears he hoped to free her from? And Linda's laughter rang, snapping his focus back to the present. He glanced at Emily, who was now animatedly discussing something that lit up her eyes, and he felt a rush of hope. Whatever came next, they were navigating it together, but as the laughter flowed and cinnamon rolls vanished, the question remained: what reality lurked just beneath the surface, waiting for them to uncover? Jim sat back, comforted by the sound of laughter dancing around the kitchen. Aunt Linda's voice filled the air as she reminisced about her baking mishaps, the lightness of the moment making it easy to forget the heaviness that had lingered just moments before. But while the others were lost in the joy of cinnamon rolls and stories, his thoughts began to churn again, like a storm gathering in the distance. Emily had always been a dreamer. From a young age, she filled sketchbooks with the vibrant worlds that blossomed within her imagination. As a child, she would create fantastical castles made of pillows and fairy worlds in her backyard. Now, standing before him, she was grown, and the weight of her conversation with Aunt Linda was heavy on his heart. "Dad, are you okay?" Emily's voice pulled him from his thoughts. Her brows were furrowed with concern as she placed a cinnamon roll on his plate, a hint of worry in her eyes. "Yeah, just thinking." He forced a smile, setting his fork down. "A lot of memories, I guess." "Good memories?" she asked, curiosity replacing the worry momentarily. "Most of them, I think." He wasn't ready to admit how much of the past still haunted him, how he feared it might overshadow her future. "Yeah, definitely good memories." "Hey Jim," Aunt Linda called, grabbing his attention. "You should tell Emily about that time you burned the cookies for your school bake sale." Emily laughed brightly, and for a moment, Jim felt the warmth blanket him like the delicious aroma swirling in the kitchen. He recounted the scene, how he had miscalculated the oven temperature and ended up with burnt offerings that somehow still managed to win over the class with laughter. But as the laughter bubbled like the icing being drizzled over the rolls, he felt the bittersweet pang of nostalgia. Memories had a way of creeping into conversation, twining happiness and regret in unpredictable ways. "Can I ask you something, Dad?" Emily's tone shifted again, becoming serious. Her spark dimmed slightly, and the playful banter faded as a thoughtful silence settled between them. "Of course." Jim leaned in, his heart racing. "If you could go back and do it all over again, would you?" This innocent question suddenly felt monumental, echoing deeper than just a casual conversation that he hesitated, thinking of the roads untraveled, forks in the path, blessings and burdens intertwined. "I'd like to think I would make some different choices," he said softly, careful in his wording. "But I wouldn't change the moments that shaped us, those made us who we are." Emily considered this, her gaze turning distant, lost in thought. "I just want to make sure I don't lose myself while chasing what I love," she finally admitted. "You know?" Jim felt his heart tighten. He wanted to reassure her that it was possible to balance dreams with the essence of who she was. But how? Just then, Aunt Linda chimed in, sensing the shift. Every step you take, Emily, is part of the journey. Trust that you'll find your way. Her words offered a lifeline, a reminder of the beauty in navigating uncertainty. The sweet smell of cinnamon filled the air, yet a chill swept through Jim's chest. He wasn't sure if he had the right answers for her, nor could he dodge the indelible truths of his own life. Had he sacrificed too much? Would his past haunt her future? As the conversation flowed back to lighter matters, Jim couldn't shake the weight of Emily's question. In these moments of laughter and sweetness, there was a looming shadow he could no longer ignore. Just when they thought they had found a moment of connection, the roots of doubt threatened to crack them apart. When the last slice of cinnamon roll was gone, and smiles lingered in the air, Emily turned to Jim with a glimmer of determination in her eyes. "Dad, don't you think it's time we also talked about what we're afraid of?" His heart raced, and for a split second, he felt utterly exposed. What lay beneath the surface was far more than either of them were ready to handle. Yet, as he looked into her expectant face, he knew he wouldn't run from it. The real question was, would she be ready for what came next? A deep silence hung in the kitchen, lingering between them like a fragile thread. Jim could feel the warmth of Emily's gaze resting upon him, waiting, expecting, almost charging him with a responsibility he didn't know how to fulfill. "What are we afraid of, Dad?" she pressed, the calm in her voice masking a storm of emotion. "Is it failing? Losing each other? Are you afraid of letting me down?" Each word struck him like a blow. He blinked, trying to find his voice, but the weight of her words felt almost too heavy. "It's just life," he finally managed to say, the truth spilling from him like uncorked wine. "The choices we make, the ones we can't take back. I don't want you to feel trapped like I sometimes do." Emily's eyes widened, her expression softening. "Trapped? You?" He nodded slowly, the vulnerability exposing the very core of his being. "You know how I always focus on safety? Sometimes, I think I've held you back from chasing your dreams because I was afraid of what might happen if you took risks, but it's not just you. It's me too. I'm afraid of losing you. Of losing the dreams we shared." A frown tugged at Emily's lips, her brows knitting together as if trying to understand a puzzle with missing pieces. "But Dad, I need to grow. If I don't dive into what I want, what's the point? You always said to follow my heart." His heart sank. Jim remembered those days filled with encouragement, urging her to embrace her creativity, her imagination. Was he now stifling her spirit? "I know," he said, voice barely above a whisper. "But I wonder if it's going to lead you to a place where you might not come back." Caught between nostalgia and fear, he watched as a realization ignited within her. "Dad, it's not like I'm leaving everything behind. I'm still me. I'm simply finding more of who I can be." Her voice rose, buoyed by certainty. Jim felt his chest tighten. What if their greatest fears were destined to tear them apart? He needed her to understand that the world could be a cruel teacher. But what if you get hurt? What if it doesn't work out? But what if it does? She countered, determination radiating from her. What if I find a passion that lights me up, something that brings joy to my life? Wouldn't it be worth it? Her confidence stirred something deep within him. He thought of all the dreams he had buried, the regrets simmering just below the surface. "Emily, you deserve every bit of happiness this world can offer," he said, his voice stronger now. "More than anything, I just want you to feel free." "What about you?" she asked, probing further. "What makes you feel free, Dad?" He hesitated, the echo of her question swirling through his mind. Free. It felt so foreign and yet so vital. Time seemed to slow as he considered how to answer, what to say to this girl who had grown into a young woman before his very eyes. Maybe it's time I stopped carrying so much of the past. I need to let it go. For your sake and mine, he whispered, realizing then that their fears were entangled, but perhaps they could uncoil them together. He could see the hesitation in her eyes, a flicker of uncertainty mixing with unyielding bravery. "So, what do we do next?" A gentle smile crept onto his face, the kind that illuminated the darkest corners of his heart. "How about we take the first step together? As they exchanged glances filled with hope and unspoken promises, a sense of clarity began to swell within him, but just as quickly as it arrived, a nagging question dared to creep into his thoughts. What if their journey forward revealed truths that neither was ready to face? The next morning, the sun spilled through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow over the breakfast table. Jim worked on pouring coffee, the rich smell mingling with the delicate scent of freshly baked muffins. Emily sat across from him, a notebook in her lap, fingers tapping on the pages as if composing the next great song. Her energy was palpable, filling the space with a kind of eagerness he hadn't seen in a while. "Dad," she said suddenly, looking up from her notes, "I've decided something." The words hung in the air, electrifying the scene. Jim's heart raced, half dreading what might spill out. "What is it?" "I want to audition for the music school in the city." Her voice was steady, but her eyes sparkled with the thrill of possibility that he forced a smile, trying to mask the tightening of his chest. The city? A prestigious school? It felt like a leap off the edge of a cliff. "That's big, Em." "I know," she said, leaning in with enthusiasm. "I've been thinking about it all night. This music program is exactly what I need. It's a chance to learn, to grow. It's my dream." Jim stirred his coffee, anxiety drifting in the undertow of the conversation. "But what if you don't get in? What if it's too far to travel? What if I do get in?" She interjected, her voice rising above his worries. "What if it opens doors for me? It's worth the risk." His stomach churned. He wanted to support her dreams, he truly did. But he couldn't shake the images of her getting hurt, disappointed, or lost in the hustle of a big city. "You're still so young, Em. It's a lot. Are you sure this is what you really want?" She exhaled, a mixture of frustration and determination. "I am sure, Dad. I need to take this chance, for me. And maybe you need to take one too." A silence fell between them, thickening with unspoken challenges. Jim looked at her, really looked at her, and for the first time, he saw not just his daughter, but a woman ready to step into her own light. "What do you mean?" he asked, curiosity piqued. "What do you love? What frightens you? What have you been too scared to go after?" She grabbed his hands, holding them tightly. "You never talk about your dreams." His thoughts spiraled. The dreams he had buried under layers of what-ifs and safety. He thought about his sketchbook tucked in the attic, long forgotten, filled with drawings he never shared. "Drawing," he whispered, the word feeling bashful on his lips. "I used to love to draw, then why don't you draw again? Just for you. No pressure. Just like the old days." She squeezed his hand, urging him to pull that spark from the past. "Picture it, Dad. You and me, both pursuing what makes us tick. How freeing would that be?" Jim felt something shift within him. The idea felt exhilarating yet terrifying, almost too big to grasp. "Maybe," he said quietly, contemplating the sounds of the city beyond their kitchen, the promises of the unknown hovering just outside their door. Emily grinned, the kind of bright smile that filled rooms. "Then let us do it. Let us chase our dreams together. Even if it scares us." His heart fluttered at the thought. For a moment, possibility unfurled before him like a sunrise bold and hopeful. But just as he began to contemplate it, a shadow of doubt crept in. What if he failed? The moment he pictured it, he felt his breath catch. "What if I'm not good enough?" he whispered, the fears wrapping around him tightly. "Who cares?" she replied defiantly, laughter dancing in her eyes. "It's about the journey. It's about showing up for ourselves." The clarity of her words struck him, and with it, a gossamer thread of hope interlaced with fear. As they exchanged smiles, taut strings awaiting plucking, Jim realized the stakes were higher than either of them understood. This choice could bond them or drive them apart. Could they truly take that leap together? With a shared glance echoing their uncertainties, they both knew the next step couldn't be taken without some trembling. Their dreams were waiting, but so were the fears. What would they uncover about each other along the way? What if this journey led them to revelations neither was prepared to face? Jim's heart thudded against his chest like a drum echoing in a still room. The words hung there, vibrant and alive, a stark contrast to the comforting familiarity of their morning routine. He thought about the sketchbook, dust-laden in the attic. The last time he had opened it, the ink felt foreign on his fingertips, like a long-lost friend he'd neglected. "Let us make a plan," Emily suggested, breaking the silence. The enthusiasm in her voice was infectious. "We can start with you pulling that sketchbook down. I'll help you with ideas. We'll check out that audition information for me and sketch out your artistic journey too." He looked at her, warmth swelling in his chest. "You'd really help me?" "Of course. I'm in this with you, Dad. We can motivate each other." She leaned closer, her excitement contagious, each word meant to spark the courage he was reluctant to find. "Okay," he said, uncertainty still shadowing his voice but giving into that flicker of hope. "Let us do it." As the culinary scents swirled around them, he felt the table transform into an altar of shared aspirations. "Let us start small," Emily proposed. "Maybe we can set aside time after dinner each week. You can illustrate something, and I'll play some music. Just us. No audience. Just us," he murmured, letting it wash over him. That felt manageable somehow, like a bridge over the chasm of fear that had kept them from truly exploring their dreams. "Yeah. No critics, just creators," she said, beaming like the sun breaking through clouds. "It'll be our time. We can let that fear and doubt float away." Jim swallowed hard, 1,000 what-ifs mingling in his mind. What if he found joy again? What if he felt free? What if all the past mistakes were washed clean with fresh ink? He couldn't lie. It scared him to think he could fail again. But something about the way Emily believed in him plucked at his heartstrings, making the fear feel less suffocating. "What if I still mess up?" he said, the vulnerability creeping in. "What if I can't get back to that place I once was?" "Oh, Dad." She laughed, her eyes dancing with delight. "Messing up is part of it. I've messed up so many times playing music. It's okay. It means we're growing. It means we care enough to try." Her words settled into him, transforming turbulence into a gentle ripple of excitement. Jim felt a smile bubble up, uncertainty morphing into an inkling of courage. "Then we'll embrace the mess," he said, the confidence warming the air between them. "Together. That's the spirit. And who knows? Maybe we'll discover something incredible. Just wait and see." Her grin was contagious, the room felt brighter, filled with possibilities. They finished breakfast, the tentative energy between them shifting into a shared mission. Emily grabbed her guitar, its strings shimmering in the morning light. "Let us play something. Just to get us started." The moment she strummed the first chord, Jim felt a current of joy course through him. The sweet melody danced on the air, and for the first time in years, he felt connected to something bigger than himself, the art, the experience, the bond of creation. But just as the music enveloped him, the phone buzzed on the counter, slicing through the moment. Who could that be? Emily wondered, the sparkle in her eyes dimming just a touch, curiosity mingling with concern. The call came through, shattering the bubble they deformed, reminding him how quickly life could pull them back into reality. Jim picked it up, a knot forming in his stomach. His heart sank as he saw the name flashing on the screen. It was an old friend, one from a time when dreams felt less daunting but also more distant. "Dad? Who is it?" Emily asked, sensing the shift that he hesitated, knowing reluctance would only shadow the moment he was beginning to embrace. It's someone from my past." What would he say? What would this call mean for them? Would it draw him away from the dreams that were just starting to take flight? Jim's grip tightened on the phone, and in that moment, he realized that perhaps it wasn't just his own dreams on the line. It was Emily's too. Could he really face the past without jeopardizing their future? He inhaled sharply, glancing at Emily. Her eyes were wide with concern, searching his face for a hint of what was happening. This moment felt fragile, like a leaf hanging on a branch just before winter. Jim's heart raced as he wrestled with the pull of nostalgia and the thrill of new beginnings. "Hello?" He finally answered, his voice steadier than he felt. The voice on the other end was familiar yet distant, a ghost from a time when dreams danced on the horizon instead of trapping him within the walls of his own home. "Jim. It's Alex. Long time no talk." The lightness in Alex's tone couldn't mask the weight of their shared past. "I was just thinking about the old days, you know, when we used to talk about that gallery you always wanted to open. You still into that?" Jim's chest tightened. Memories flooded back, late nights filled with laughter and sheer ambition, visions of his artwork lining the walls of a bright, open space. But that felt like another lifetime, one buried under bills and responsibilities. "Yeah, I've been busy," Jim replied, avoiding the truth that hung on his tongue like a veil. He wanted to share his plans with Emily, the glimmer of hope igniting within him, but here was Alex, gently coaxing him back into a past he thought he was leaving behind. There was a brief silence, and Jim wondered if Alex was reading the hesitation in his voice. "Listen, I'm in town for a few days. Thought maybe we could catch up. It's been too long, and I'd love to see how you're doing. You know, actually hear about that art of yours." The invitation sent a shiver down Jim's spine. This was more than a friendly chat, it was a reckoning, a chance to dive knee-deep into old wounds and dreams. He glanced at Emily, who was curling her fingers around the guitar strings absent-mindedly, a slight frown forming on her delicate features. "Yeah, maybe," Jim started, but the uncertainty slipped through his fingers. "I mean, I'm trying to focus on some new things now. I actually have a project I'm working on with Emily." "Oh. That's great. You've got to involve her in your art. That's what it's all about, right? Family, connection." Alex's tone grew earnest. "You know, if you ever decide to make that leap with your work, I could help. I have some connections." A pulse of anxiety raced through Jim. Could he really revisit that old dream? To think Alex could help meant facing the very fears he'd been wrestling with. "I really don't know, man. It's complicated. Things have changed." "Sure, they have. But that doesn't mean we can't revisit dreams. Don't you want to see what you're capable of?" The words glanced off the walls inside him, ricocheting through the cracks that time and disappointment had left. For a moment, Jim felt himself unwinding a string pulled too tight, suddenly letting go, and with it came a rush of uncertainty and hope. Emily watched him closely, and he knew she could see through the mask. What would he say? Part of him longed to accept Alex's offer, drawn by the phantom call of that creative life. Yet in the next heartbeat, he was tethered to the present. What if this call threatened to unravel all the vows of a new beginning he'd just made with Emily? "Alex, I need to think about it," he said finally, swallowing hard. "Of course," came the laid-back response, but Jim could feel the weight of unspoken disappointment. "Just know whatever you choose, I'll be here." He hung up the phone, the room heavy with the echo of their conversation. Emily shifted in her seat, breaking the silence. "You okay, Dad?" I don't know yet," he admitted, his breath catching in the back of his throat. "I guess I just have to figure out what I really want. This wasn't how I planned the day." Emily nodded, sensing the storm swirling in her father's heart. "You can talk to me about it. Maybe it's just a chance. A chance for both of us." Jim forced a smile, but anxiety still danced in his chest. It felt like standing at the edge of a cliff, wondering whether to dive off into the unknown. The bright morning sun streamed in through the window, and for every flicker of light that hit the table, Jim felt flickers of doubt too. Was he ready to reach back for something that might slip through his fingers? "Maybe we should just play together," he suggested, hoping to fend off the growing weight of indecision. Emily picked up her guitar again, her eyes reflecting the kind of unwavering belief that had the power to heal. "How about we explore that fear in music? Let us turn it into something." As she began to play, Jim picked up a pencil, looking at an empty sheet of paper. But with a sudden rush of wind, the door swung open and his mother walked in, her eyes wide with surprise, a letter clutched in her hands. Jim's heart raced at the sight. What news could shake the fragile peace he'd just begun to build? "Jim, you need to see this," she said, urgency coloring her voice. "What is it?" Everything in the room came to a pause, the air thick with anticipation. "It's about your father." What did the past hold for him now, and could it change everything he'd been trying to rebuild? Jim's heart raced as his mother stepped into the kitchen, a letter crumpled between her fingers like a fragile promise. Emily paused mid-strum, her gaze shifting from the guitar to the letter, catching her father's apprehension. The joy of the morning, the warmth of their shared dreams, all hung in the balance, teetering dangerously. "Mom, what is going on?" he asked, a knot tightening in his stomach. "It's about your father, the past." She was trembling, and Jim felt the weight of years pressing down, filled with memories he thought he had laid to rest. Emily moved closer, her eyes wide with concern. "Is everything okay? Let me just read it." Jim reached for the letter, the familiar script sending a shiver down his spine. As he unfolded it, he felt a potent mix of dread and anticipation. "Dear Jim, I hope this letter finds you in good health. I've been reflecting on a number of things, especially about our relationship, Mom. I don't know if I'm ready to hear this," he interrupted, glancing at Emily, who was holding her breath. She sensed the shift in the air. "Just listen," his mother said, her voice steady but soft. "You deserve to know the truth. It's important." With a deep breath, Jim continued reading. The lines unfolded a life Jim had kept tucked away, full of unspoken regrets and moments of vulnerability. There was mention of a difficult choice his father had faced, sacrifices made out of fear, dictated by a cycle younger Jim had sworn not to repeat. "I regret many things, Jim. But what I regret most is that I didn't tell you how proud I was of you, that I feared you might tread the same path of illusion I did. I didn't want you to see me weak, but in hiding the truth, I didn't let you know that it's okay to be both courageous and afraid." With each word, the floodgates of emotion burst open. Tears prickled at the corners of his eyes. The confession washed over him, reminding him of the fears he harbored, how desperately he wanted to protect Emily from them, yet how heavy that secret had turned. It felt like a healing breeze breaking through stagnant air. "Dad?" Emily's voice was gentle, urging him to acknowledge the waves of emotion crashing through him. "Hold on, just a second," he managed, shaking off the haze to read further. The letter continued to illuminate shadows, detailing moments of vulnerability that were rarely discussed. Maybe this was the bridge his father's fears echoing his own, and now echoing back into his daughter's heart. Then it hit him, the past was not a wall but a bridge made of shared struggles. It didn't have to define them, but could connect their experiences instead. "Emily, I think this is about more than just me," he said, catching her gaze. "This is about us. About everything else we believed was necessary to keep hidden." She nodded, her eyes sparkling with understanding. "It's okay to be afraid, Dad. We can carve out our paths, but we can do it together. Just like you said." He felt a warmth spreading through his chest, reaffirming the bond that had begun to grow between them. "And maybe I can use this time to revisit my dreams, not just for me, but to show you it's okay to pursue yours too. The fear is part of it." As he lifted his gaze to Emily, she was glowing with excitement, that same determination from before etching her lovely features. "And we can use this, turn it into our own art. What if we create something together that speaks to what we're both feeling? Your sketches and my music?" Jim grinned, the knot in his stomach starting to untangle itself. "I think I'd like that. Let us do it. Let us create," she said, bubbling with enthusiasm, and he could hear that smile within her voice. With the letter still in hand and aspirations lining their hearts, Jim felt sturdy foundations being laid between them. It was a crack in the shadows, a whisper of hope rising against a backdrop of unknowns. The sun pouring through the window seemed brighter now, illuminating the possibilities waiting just beyond their brunch table, a canvas freshly laid just like their journey, a transformation waiting to happen. Sparked by vulnerability and understanding. Together, Jim echoed softly. As he cast a glance to his mother, still watching quietly, he saw pride in her eyes. Perhaps that acknowledgement had lived there all along, but it took this moment to dust it off. "Let us take that first step," shall we?" he said, and as Emily nodded eagerly, he finally felt ready. Not just to confront the past but to reshape it into something new, a legacy they could rewrite together. Their laughter returned, echoing around the kitchen as the faint chords from Emily's guitar set the tone for their unfolding story, one that might transform their fears into a harmonic journey of love, connection, and dreams fulfilled. In that moment, they breathed as one, a family ready to face the tide of life, fears included. Now, on this journey of exploration and redefinition, the only path was forward, together. And as Jim set aside the letter, he thought this could be the beginning of something beautiful, something that showed them that love wasn't just an emotion, it was the courage to face their truths, together. Don't miss out. You need to subscribe now to keep following this incredible journey. Leave a like now to support this channel and feed the algorithm. Seriously, it matters. Comment your feelings about this touching conclusion and share how it inspired you. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to show your support. True fans know that every action helps keep our community growing.